Are you tired of playing small? Are you tired of not speaking up and being scared to go for what you truly desire and deserve in life? And do you think this fear is holding you back from making money from the gifts that you were blessed with? Well, our guest today is going to help you with all of the above. She is a revenue strategist and the author of Be Fearless. You're about to be fearless and make that money and get what you desire and deserve. Welcome to Boss Up Goddess. I'm Elizabeth Ann Atkins, and I interview trailblazing women who share their wisdom to help us all live bigger, better, and bolder. You are about to meet an amazing woman, a revenue strategist. Don't you want a revenue strategist on your team? Her name is Kadena Tate-Simon, and I'm so honored to invite you here and introduce you, Kadena. Welcome to Boss Up Goddess.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So, can you talk about how you became a revenue strategist and wrote a book called Be Fearless?
Well, in candor, I became a revenue strategist because I had to. I think that there's one of two scenarios that takes place. Either we go through something and then we turn around and teach other people because we don't want them to make the mistakes that we made. That's part of it. And then there's the other part of, I simply would ask myself the question, how could I have a 4.0 GPA and have a horrible relationship with money? I just could not
Oh,
understand how people were making money. It was so,
uh-huh.
it was without a job. It seemed to be this
Mhm.
ethereal thing that was really difficult. And so I feel like I teach the things that I most need to learn and needed to learn. And so
Mhm.
then it becomes this joint collaboration. Because, by the way, my core strength is community. And so I
Mhm.
believe in connection. So I feel like if I share what I've learned and I pay that forward, then we can all grow stronger together. So that's
I
really how I
love
got
it.
started. And why did I write the book? Because I was terrified. I was terrified of visibility. Absolutely
Oh,
freaked out. Freaked
what?
out. Yes. And people who know me don't believe that, but yes, I was terrified because I think what a lot of people don't understand is that, so I'm 55, right? So I come from that generation of what goes on in this house stays in this house, and you don't air your dirty laundry, and you have to be on point, and you have to be 10,000 times better, smarter, faster than other people just to
Right,
be
right.
enough. And so what was happening was I was scared to be visible because then I would have to be on all the time, or I would have to be somebody that I wasn't. And I didn't want to put a false narrative out into the world. And then I realized, wait a minute, you mean I can actually say to people, I don't have it all together. I have some stuff together. And the stuff that I have together, we could talk about. The
Mhm.
stuff that's a work in progress, we could talk about that too, right? Because
Mhm.
I'm not
Right.
going to live my life in fear, and rooted in shame, guilt, apology, and embarrassment, because there are no perfect people.
No,
So
no.
that's the reason why I wrote that book for me. And then, of course, if it would help somebody else, hallelujah. Yeah.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, my book, Boss Up Goddess, is based on the idea of stop playing small.
Yeah.
And that's something that you address because when we play small, we don't speak up and we don't get what we desire and deserve. And that includes the money that we get in exchange for our gifts that we're blessed with. So, Kadena, can you talk about how you help people monetize, prosper from the gifts that they're blessed with unapologetically?
Well, the first thing is, I've always been a person who's been fascinated how people assemble their gifts, talents, strengths, and abilities, and whatever wisdom they've gleaned over the years, how they package all that and put it together in audio, video, and multimedia products. So this is something way before I was an entrepreneur that I was fascinated by. And so one day I was watching Oprah Winfrey, oh, it's like 20 years ago. And Oprah said, if you want to know who you are or you want to know what your purpose is, look at where you spend your money. And I was in a room surrounded by books. And so at that time, I think I owned like 4,000 books. And I said, so I'm supposed to like write books or sell books? What am I supposed to be doing?
Uh-huh.
And I got up, and I'm a huge Louise Hay fan.
Oh, yes.
And when I looked at my bookcase, I realized not only did I own all the books, but I owned the meditation tapes, the affirmation tapes. I owned everything. I went to her live events. And so then it clicked. And I said, oh, I get it. It's not the book, it's the community of the book, which I call 50 Shades of
Oh,
Hate. So it's not it's not the book, it's all
oh,
the ancillary things that
yes.
contribute. So this is how I started working with people, but I needed to bring it in because you can overwhelm. I mean, I could easily overwhelm someone with the whole big enchilada, right? So I started studying business model design, and then I was a contributing author in that book called Business Model You. And that's when I realized that if I broke it down into steps, by breaking a business down into the 9 building blocks, then what I could do is say to a person, okay, this is where you're leaking time, energy, money, and resources. Let me show you how we can close this gap. And that's going to save you time, money, and energy. But I also
Mm.
think, too, that a lot of people don't realize that one of the biggest reasons that they're leaking money specifically is because they don't have control of their attention. A
Oh.
lot of people don't realize that, like you hear it all the time, where your energy goes, I'm sorry, attention, wherever you place your attention, that's where your energy flows.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But what people don't realize is that one of your most valuable resources as an entrepreneur is not just your time, but your attention. So
Yes.
if you're focused on non revenue activities, I don't care how charismatic you are, how awesome you are, you're not going to make any money. And then you're going to be depressed and sad and confused as to why I don't understand why I'm making money, but you have no system to make money. You're just kind of like magically hoping and wishing. And that's another thing I was doing. Girl, I was so steeped in religion that I don't know. I used to, this sounds so ridiculous, but I used to just like pray about my clients, not market.
You
I
mean
realized
pray to
after a
get
while,
clients? Pray to get clients? Okay,
yes.
okay.
And
Uh-huh.
then what would happen is, I mean, I'm in my house. I don't know. It makes me laugh now because I don't know if I thought people were going to knock on my door and say, I'm here and here's some money. I don't know. They were going to
Uh,
randomly come to my website. I don't know.
right, right.
But I realized that it was going to take some action on my part.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the big things because there's a lot of people who they naturally can earn 100,000. But one of the things that I like to tell people is if you've been earning the same amount of money or about the same amount of money every year for the last 10 years, and you don't know how to make that amount of money per day, per month, right? Or per week, per day, week, or month, you're still stuck. Your business isn't growing. It's just, you're just kind of like you have a job, and that's
Mm-hmm.
it. So you
Mm-hmm.
don't really have a way where you can leverage your time, your undivided attention, your intellectual property. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
my groove. That's the thing I like to do is try to find the piece of the puzzle that's going to help you to double, triple, or quadruple your income by re-evaluating your business model, especially when you're an author, because you're leaving a lot of money on the table,
Mm-hmm.
especially when
Mm-hmm.
you're an author.
Mm-hmm. So for the person who's not bossing up and doing all of that, how they're playing small. So how do you stop playing small? Is it about your self-worth? Is it about your self-esteem? What's at the core of that?
I think at the core of it is a spiritual belief that you're not enough. And some level of unworthiness or lack of deservability or some guilt, shame, embarrassment, or some narrative. For example, you said ask for what you want. One of the things that I have learned is most people don't ask for what they want, not so much because they think they're not going to get it, but it's the shame or the embarrassment around the vulnerability required to ask for what you want, right? And so there's this idea that's perpetuated in our society that the giver is superior to the receiver, which is nonsense. Giving and
Ooh.
receiving is a circle, right?
Mm-hmm.
There can be no receiver without a giver, and there can be no giver without a receiver. So
Right.
we're equal, right? We're equal, but because we don't believe or we don't know or we're not willing to share power, we're always trying
Mm-hmm.
to power over people. And so therefore, when someone's in a position where they have to ask for support or guidance, right? There's this shame around it. So then they become quiet. And
Oh,
that was my experience. And that's what I noticed in the lives of my client, especially women. Because think about it, women have been socialized. You're the caretaker, you're the caregiver, you're the
mhm.
nurturer, you're supposed to give, you're supposed to share, you're supposed to be nice. And so why would you ask somebody for money? Right. So, why would you ask them for money? Because you're supposed to give it. And so a lot of
Oh,
women struggle, and I'm not talking about to make like 100,000. Like some people on the call might be like, well, I don't have a problem. Yeah, at 100,000. But once you start getting into numbers like 2 million, 4 million, 10 million, 20 women, 12, 20 million, women start saying stuff like, well, I don't really need that much money. And they don't realize it's not about your business, is not just about you. Your business is
mm,
about the people that you're called to be a support and service to.
wow,
Do you know
right.
what I'm saying? And
Yes.
so we, I think really small in terms of it's what I can do. And that was the thing that I needed to realize. I had to like, okay, I need a graphic designer, a web designer, I need a virtual assistant. I need
Yes,
somebody to help me with sales calls. Like I can't be every box in an
yes,
organizational chart.
yes, right.
So we've got, we've got to take a step back and let go of this idea that we're not enough or that we're too much of something. Because that's the other thing, right? You're either too much of something or you're not enough of something, or that's the belief. And they're
Mhm.
both inaccurate. So
Right.
I think that's the number one, in my opinion, is the shame around asking and this idea that I'm not worthy or deserving of it. Or, the other one, the other belief that I used to carry was, I know God will do it for somebody else because I can see it. So I'll use a very
Mhm.
simple thing like I'll use a Mercedes because I love Mercedes. So, for example, you see people driving Mercedes all over the place. So you know that God will bless people to have the money to buy a Mercedes, but there's this belief that it won't be done for you
Oh,
because somehow you didn't do enough or you're not worthy enough or
uh-huh.
all this doing, or
Yes,
like somehow you have to earn something.
yes.
And it took me a long time, oh my God, like a long time to come out of that way of thinking.
Uh-huh.
So I would say for the people, the first step to being fearless is to look in the mirror. And I know this is going to be awkward, but completely nude, look into your own eyes and look in the mirror and say, I am enough.
Oh,
All right. I
wow.
love you. I love you. I approve of you. I accept you. And you do this without anybody around. And because self love is the foundation. So once you say, you know what? I love you and you're enough, you do enough, you are enough. That, like, I can't even, I don't have the words, but that clears the path for you to step forward. And then the other thing is, I am a vessel through which the divine flows. So this is
Yes.
not even about me anyway, right? So all that's ego. Like that was what I meant when I said I was so scared. I was scared because I was like, oh Lord, if they see me, I might get stoned. Do you know what I'm saying? But if they see you, right,
Uh-huh.
or your presence,
Uh-huh.
right, this is so we have it's amazing. The thoughts, like we really have to become more mindful of the power of our thoughts because they are the outer is a reflective of the inner. And a lot of people don't realize that. They think life is just happening to them and you're actually creating. So you're co-creating, and sometimes it looks like drama, but that's good too, right? Because then you have a story to tell somebody else. I used to think that way too, or I used to have that habit
Mhm.
and I had to cultivate a new habit,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
I think it's just that simple. I think we forget how to play
Mhm.
and just how to just relax into the mystery of life. That to me is the biggest inhibitor of growth.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
So, I love that. Okay, so that's one way to be fearless. What's another way, Kadena?
Another way I think is really you got to sit down and look at. I'm a big person about legacy. Now, I believe that every single day, every action is moving you towards the legacy. So when you are no longer here, what are they going to say about you 25 years from now, 50 years from now, 100 years from now? What do you want people to say when they see your name or they hear your name? So when I look at my business, right, I look at my business through the lens of not just the client that I'm helping, but who are the people that they're helping? So for example, right? So I'm going to use a biblical scripture because this is just like it's one of the things that drives me. And it says that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children that shall last 10 generations. So I'm going to substitute man for person.
Okay.
So if I'm in my gift and millions of dollars flow through my fingertips, right? Who am I helping with my millions of dollars? Because it's not the money, right? Am I building schools, playgrounds? Am I clothing? Am I building houses? Like, what am I doing with all of this money? And
Mm-hmm.
whose lives am I changing? And
Mm-hmm.
so I think sometimes we don't think about our business through the lens of, for me, a business is a spiritual vehicle that carries my destiny on its wings.
Oh,
So,
wait. Please say that again.
yeah, a business is a spiritual vehicle that carries my destiny as its wings. So I have to step into these uncomfortable spaces because otherwise I'm not going to fulfill my legacy, right? So, say, for example, if you're terrified to video, for example, you don't have to do video, you can do audio, but you got to be visible. Visible as in people need to see you or they need to hear you. You know, we can't be hiding out in a closet expecting people, like I was saying earlier, to run up to your door and knock on the door and say, "You're it. I want to work with you." You're invisible. So if you're invisible, how are you going to fulfill your own purpose or your mission or your vision in your life? And how are you going to help other people? And then those people that you help, like, take, for example, one client. So let's just say you help a client who, say that person, when they started was, they had just gone through a divorce, for example. I'm going to use a specific client. They went through a divorce. They were a stay-at-home mom. They didn't think they had any skills at all. But when they had a quick wit and they had the ability, if you will, to keep everything like really organized. So let's just say that the product that they create is some home organizer system, or they're teaching people how to organize their garages or their kitchens, something like this, something that they didn't think anything of, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And now let's just say they become a Marie Kondo, right? And so look at all the people around the world now who no longer are living in chaos and overwhelm and
Uh-huh.
confusion.
Uh-huh.
So they have now helped by something as simple as organization, just getting
Yeah.
organized.
Yes.
They've helped millions of people to get organized. And therefore,
Mm-hmm.
those people are living a fuller, richer, and more rewarding life because
Mm-hmm.
you stepped into your gift. So
Mm-hmm.
I believe in connection. So we need each other, right? I need you to fulfill my purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I like what you're doing, I'm going to make that investment. And this is the thing I think people don't understand about women. When women like you and they like what you do, they will make an investment and they'll drag their husbands and boyfriends and lovers to make that same investment. You know, and I don't think that we realize the power that we have to
Mm-hmm.
actually put our money where we want to see change. So take, for example, you're doing Boss Up Goddess, right? And you have a book coming out. So if I like the book, I, as a woman, right, am gathering other women together, even if it's something that it's an evening where we're going to go over the book like a book club, an impromptu book club.
Mm-hmm.
That energy of now everybody's excited and we're pursuing our goals, now we can support each other. So even though it might look like, well, this one person bought my book, you don't know how many people that person shared your book with and shared your
Right.
message with, and now how many
Yes.
lives have changed. So
Mm-hmm.
the short answer is you got to do the work. You got to
Yeah.
actually put the thing out there, the book, the tape, the DVD, the live event,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, you got to put it out there, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
and ask
Okay.
people for their feedback.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So doing it, taking the action to make it happen is a way to be fearless because you're not playing small anymore. You're actually finding the courage to do the thing,
Oh, it takes
right?
courage. Yeah, every day. That's the thing I think that people think. I think they think that courage is a one time act. It's every single day, right? You're being fearless moment by moment. So, for example, I'm on this call with you, right? For some people, they'd be terrified. To me, it's just a conversation. So it's a
Yes.
choice of how you see it. Like, oh my God, who's going to see me? And do I look right? And is my background right? And, da, 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 da. Like, we're worried about all these insignificant things. But what's important is, am I speaking a word that's going to expand a heart, right? Or expand somebody else's paradigm of possibility? And I think
Mm,
that's where we miss the opportunity. So people say, well, I'm not ready. I'm not
mhm,
ready to do that interview. I'm not ready to talk to people. You're absolutely
mhm,
ready because you already
mhm.
have everything you need. You just got to
Yeah,
take action. That's all.
yeah. Oh, I
And then you
love
build confidence. Well, let me say this to the people who are listening. How do you gain confidence? You gain confidence by taking the action. That's how you then take the steps towards mastery. So you don't do something one time and then you're an expert. It's like this whole illusion that people have where I go to a class, for example, like over the weekend, I used to be a real estate broker. So let's just say you take these 12 classes and then you have a license. You're not an expert at selling real estate. You're a student who took 12 classes, right? You have to actually go out and sell a house in order to understand the transaction. I think we want shortcuts and we need to understand that mastery is a day by day process and you're going to be scared and you're going to be uncomfortable. But the fear is not so much of this is what I mean by the whole not enoughness thing. If you don't know
yeah.
how to do something, you got to ask for help. Do you know? Like,
Mhm.
let me give you a quick example. There was this period where I had to go into caregiver mode for my father, and I was running really tight on money. And Canva had come out as a new product. And I think it was $119.40 a year or something like this. And I bought it, but I used to cry. This is hilarious. I used to cry every day trying to figure Canva out. I'm not kidding. I would be so stressed out. And I am not a person who's a crier, but I would be worked up because I couldn't afford to hire a graphic designer. So here's what's funny. Here we are all these years later. My father passed away in 2012. When I tell you I know how to rock Canva, like if you would swear that I was using the entire Adobe suite. That's how good I am on Canva. And it's hilarious because people will
Uh-huh.
say to me, who did that? I'm like, I did. They're like, what? I'm like, you
Wow.
have no idea. But you also have no idea how many nights I was up 2, 3 o'clock in the morning
Mhm,
playing with it, trying to figure it out, right?
mhm,
So
mhm.
now my graphic designer, she's hilarious because of course she uses the whole Adobe suite. And I'll send a thing to her and I'll say, I want it like this. And she's like, you already designed it. Right? So I'm like, no, no, I didn't already design it. She's like, you
Mhm.
already designed it. So what else can I do? Because that's done. So then you
Wow.
also need people around you who can save you from yourself, right? So
Saving
I
from
would just
yourself.
say, I would just say, it's not going to be easy in the beginning. You might cry and you might feel like the stuff that you put out in the world doesn't look professional or doesn't look polished, but that's the whole thing. If everything is polished and it's professional and it's all put together, if we all only present ourselves with doctorate degrees, when do people get to go through elementary school? Do you know what I mean? It's like we don't give ourselves a chance to go from beginner to intermediate to advanced. Everybody just wants to be advanced. And then they're
Right,
running around flossing. And I'm like, stop. Business
right.
is not easy.
No,
No,
no, it's not. I know.
no.
I love what you're saying because a lot of times those emotions become major blocks, like
Yes.
anger and fear, as your book says, be fearless. But one point I really want to address is finding the courage, the power to speak up, because you
Oh
said
my
this is a
God.
moment to moment act of being fearless. And the act of speaking up happens in those split seconds when someone says or does something to you and they violated your boundaries, they insulted you, whatever it is, that's the time to speak up. And
Yes.
that's when you have to have that motor running that I am going to speak up right now and not be
Absolutely.
scared. So,
Well,
how do
oh my
we?
God. Let's talk very briefly about boundaries and speaking up. So, and anger. So I'm going to tie them all into a little bow. So I was very angry. There was this period where I was like really angry. And the reason that I was angry is because I was hardcore perfectionist, people pleaser. I was improving energy and I was over giving, over delivering. I was doing too much, right? And I was mad because I felt like, well, you see all this stuff I'm doing for you. Why aren't you paying me properly? Well, first of all, I needed to ask to be paid properly. Let's start there. Let's start with the pricing strategy, right? That's what I needed. So, what I
That's
realized was I was mad because I wasn't respecting myself enough to run my business like a business. That's where the business model comes in. So, what I realized was I had to get clear, who is my ideal client? Right. And here's the thing, not all money is good money. Because there are people, a lot of people don't realize you're going to meet people who will love you and they'll say, oh, I'll give you $24,000 to coach me. But in your body, you're like, no, you need to go with that. No, because that will be like hell on earth if you say yes to that person. And you're going to constantly, that person is going to teach you how to set a healthy boundary. So you're either going to learn it through tears, right? And whining and complaining and talking to other people about this person, or you're going to stand up and say, you know what? I would rather turn you down now than let you down later. I have the
oh,
perfect
wait,
person.
please say that again.
I would rather turn you down now than let you down later. I
Ooh.
have a list of people that would really be a good fit for you, and you refer that person away. So, first of all, get clear about who your client is because everybody's not your client. And
Mhm.
if you feel in your body, listen to your intuition. Your intuition is a guide. So, whether you want to call it your intuition, your Holy Spirit, your inner guidance systems, doesn't matter. When you hear that little voice that says no, listen to that because if you don't, you're going to be in these situations with people where they will test every piece of your business. They'll call your house all hours of the night simply because they have your phone number, right? They'll email you all hours of the night. They'll email you on the weekends and expect an answer within 10, 15 minutes. So you have to run your business like a business. You need contracts, right? You
Oh,
need
yes.
agreements. If
Mhm.
something changes, you add an addendum or write a new contract and say this
Mhm.
contract is no longer applicable because
Mhm.
the project scope has changed. This is where we've got to be on. Why are we really angry? We're angry because we're not telling the truth about you want this service. I'm willing to help you, right? It might take me 40 hours to do this. It's like, for example, since you're a writer, you'll get this.
Oh, yes, I got it.
People want you to write for them and they want to pay you pennies on the dollar. And you're like, okay, you're using up all my creativity, right? My time, my undivided attention. I'm researching this for you. And you want this magnificent manuscript that's like by Michelangelo in 24 hours. Like you've got to
Oh, no.
check people, right? And let them know
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
this is what's required. And then also, it needs to be mutually beneficial. Like, what do you, it's not just what are you going to do for your customer? What are the
Mhm.
expectations you have of your client? We don't put that in our contracts. So, what I find the way that people leak money, for example, let's just say I have a client who's a web designer. She designed this beautiful website, and then the client finds out about funnels. So then they say, oh, but I want you to add this. So the web designer, be nice, starts down that path. And now what did you do? You took something that you were paid maybe 3,000 for, and now you're building a $15,000 thing, right? It's eating up your time. You're mad and angry, cursing. And then you meet me, and I'm like, well, where's your contract? What's the agreement?
No.
So why are you really mad? So we need to get to the root of the anger and we need to set healthy boundaries. The way you set boundaries in a business, what I found is through contracts because that's the cleanest. It's the cleanest, easiest way that doesn't require you with the shaky voice and shaky knees to say something. Now, I'm not scared of people, so I know how to deal with people. But for the people who don't, write everything down. Like
Mhm.
literally, if you think that like refunds, it took me a minute to say, like, I think I had to get mad with somebody because this lady was like, well, I didn't have time to go through the material and I want my money back. And she caught me on the wrong day. And I said, I said, when you made an investment in this program, right? I showed up. So I showed up. I showed up with the worksheets. I showed up with the webinars. I showed up with the live trainings. I did my part. Your part was to show up and do the work and tell the truth and ask for help. And you didn't do that. So now 6 months later, you want your money back because you didn't use the service, no, I'm not giving you your money back. Like, let this be a lesson
Wow.
to you, right? That you
Mm-hmm.
need to be in integrity about your willingness to commit, right, to participation in a program. That woman and I
Mm-hmm.
today are like this because she was pissed. She was like, how dare you? I said, oh, I did. Now, it took her 2 years to come back to me because she was very angry, but
Uh-huh.
that was a $12,000 lesson. I'm like, girl, I'm self-employed. Like, I spent your money already. Do you know what I mean? 2 years ago. Like, you know what I mean? Like, are you serious? I had people to pay. So this is
Wow.
where I feel like we don't, and she laughs about it now because, of course, she came back 18 months later talking about, well, I never used this. Girl, are you serious right now? Like, that's not what happens.
Wow.
Like, this is, I think that that's what I'm saying. We need to use contracts. So that one of the things that taught me was to put on my website in big bold letters, there are no refunds. Please think carefully before you make an investment.
I
Because
love it.
Kadena
That's
Tate,
powerful.
I'm
Yeah.
showing up, right? So
Yes.
we got to I feel like the biggest reason why people aren't making the money that they want to make is number one, I want to go back to something. How much money do you want to make? They haven't made a decision. See, $1 million businesses aren't just $1 million businesses because people rolled out of bed and just threw a couple of things together. If you want to make $100,000 a month, right, you first have to decide, my desire is to make $100,000 a month. The second
Mm-hmm.
thing is what's required of me. What's the problem that I'm willing to solve with a smile on my face, right? With a smile on my face, joy in my
Mm-hmm.
heart, and with expediency. Because
Mm-hmm.
they're not willing to wait all day for you to help them solve their problems, right? So we got to tell the truth about that. So what am I willing to do in exchange for this money? And then who are the people who are willing to make an investment in my solution?
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, it has to be something that I think I told you this privately. My big business lesson, people are dialed into WIIFM, what's in it for me.
Yes.
If you
All
don't
day,
tap all day,
24/7.
I mean, they don't care about what's going on with you. So it's like I remember when my father was like very, very ill. And on the day of his the day that of his funeral, I'm on my way. You know how you're in the funeral car driving to the funeral and my phone rings. And I made the mistake of answering the phone because I recognized the number and it was a client who I also thought was a friend. Keep in mind, this is November 1st, 2012, the day that I'm in the car driving to the funeral home, and I answered the phone. And she says, I'm not kidding, I just have a quick question to ask you. You know how you look at the
She knew where
phone?
you were, right?
She knew what I was doing. She
Uh-huh.
knew my father passed. She knew that was the day of the funeral. And she had a launch coming up. And she said, I have a quick question to ask you. And I said, I'm on my way I'm in the car on my way to the funeral home. And she said, it'll only be a few minutes. And I said, obviously, you have no idea who you're speaking to right now. And I hung up the phone. So 3 hours later, she called me back and she said, I was talking to my husband and I said to my husband, it would have only taken her a few minutes to answer my question. And my husband said, have you lost your mind? I can't even believe that you would call her to ask the question. You want to know what the question was? This is the total trip. Should I use YouTube or Vimeo? So when she finally got to ask me the question, I said, that's what you were calling me for? That couldn't wait? So that's when I realized like people are seriously dialed into their stuff, you know? And
Yeah.
she said, well, you're just so strong and you handle, I just thought it's a quick question. I was like, I'm not the strategist for you. Like you need to go and work with somebody else
Oh, wow.
because I don't work with people who lack empathy and compassion. That's like a major death. Do you know? Like that's a no. And
Mm-hmm.
so it took her a minute. I think she was so caught off guard. But if it
Mm-hmm.
weren't for her husband backing me up to say that was inappropriate,
Yes. Yes.
she
Mm-hmm.
really was like in her righteousness. So that helped me. And by the way, this was on a Sunday. So this is, keep in mind now, it was in on my website, these are my hours. So that was another lesson that I learned. Don't give people your cell phone. So we don't, that's what I'm saying. We as women, we want to be friends and ha ha with different people, and we don't set healthy boundaries. So I'm not complaining about those things. What I'm saying is, what I had to tell people is, I learned how to set boundaries by having my boundaries violated.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Okay, not
Yeah.
because I had it together. Like, trust
Yeah.
me when I tell you, I did not. I was
Right.
on some serious Southern Belle nice girl fake stuff. And
Mhm.
it took me a minute, right, to lay the gauntlet down to say, whoa, this is not the kind of relationship. So, what I want the people who are listening to really sit down and think about is, what do you want your business to feel like in your body? What do you want it to look like? What are the sounds you want to hear? What are the sights you want to see? Go back to your body, go back to your senses, and really, what's the sensory experience of your business? Because everything is vibration. So, if when you think about marketing, your whole body is like, no, then that means that you're not in integrity with just being yourself. You're not comfortable, right? You're wearing some mask, or you're trying to pretend to be somebody that you're not. Just be yourself. And here's the thing, you don't need to be perfect. Because I've met a lot of people who've said to me, when I first met you, I didn't think you were going to be the right coach for me because you have everything together. And I was like, the lies you tell, I don't have everything together. Where do you get that from? Right. And so,
Uh-huh.
but just because I'm not walking around with with my slip hanging in one shoe, does not mean, do you know what I'm saying? That my world is falling apart. So I think that
Mhm.
a lot of people don't realize that their presence is needed, like desperately needed, because when you
Mhm.
show up, there's a light that you emit, right?
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
goes forward and rolls through the room, and it helps other people to be their highest self. But you got to be comfortable with
Mhm.
yourself. So being
Yes.
fearless is not so much I'm not scared, but you're doing it scared, you
Mhm.
know? And I think that's
Oh.
you're doing it scared.
Mhm.
It's just stepping outside of your comfort zone.
I
Like,
love it.
don't sit in this box, because here's what I definitely can tell you. When I look back over my life, now I don't live in the land of I wish I woulda, shoulda, coulda, because I think that's a waste of time.
Thank
But
you.
I know a lot of people who feel like, I wish I woulda, shoulda, coulda done this, that, and the third. And
Mhm.
I'm like, do it now. You
Oh,
still got it in your
yes.
body.
Uh-huh.
Do it now, right?
Uh-huh.
And do
Mhm.
it now, and do it scared.
Do
And
it
do it
scared.
incompetent. Do it incompetent, because you'll cultivate some competence. That's why I shared the Canva example. I was grossly incompetent.
Mhm.
Now I think I could run Canva, right? I mean, like, for real, right? So it's like, in my head, my ego's so big with my Canva designs. I
Uh-huh.
literally look at them and feel like a queen, right? And it's
Oh, I
like I just
love
want to
it.
share, like show and tell in the second grade. But
Mhm.
I laugh at myself and say, oh, but remember those days when you were crying and freaked out? So,
Mhm.
and
Oh,
so
I love
I
it. I
hope that
love it.
helps.
Kadena, you are a metaphysician. So what you just said about how does your business feel in your body? I don't know that we think about things like that. So can you share what it should feel like?
Well, I will say this. I think that should is one of those duties outside of yourself, but I'll use the word should in the following context. I think it should feel like you're in alignment, like you're one with the thing. Like, for example, I know that what I'm doing is the thing that I'm supposed to be doing, but what's for me is not necessarily for the next person. I think it's really important that you tap in and tune in, right, to what your gift is. It's like when I was saying earlier, if you're scared of video, like, I'll use myself. I was terrified of video. There was a period where I was freaked out by video. And my girlfriend said, you have a really nice voice. Just make audios. So
Mhm.
that's what I did. And then one day, somebody asked me, this is hilarious. They asked me to do an interview like this. This is like a long time ago. And I was freaked out. And then I heard myself in my freaked out state as she's asking me, and I'm saying, well, I can't do that. She's like, oh, Kadena, I really need this favor because these people have canceled. And I hear myself saying yes, and I'm freaking out. And then in the stillness, like in the middle of my total freak out, I heard if she would have asked you to speak on stage, you would have said, sure. What's the difference between being on a Zoom
Wow.
call
Wow.
and being on stage?
Wow.
What's the difference? What's this story that you're telling? Like literally,
Mhm.
right in the
Mhm.
midst of it, it was like, what are you talking about? If she would have said,
Wow.
come speak here, you would have gotten your car and drove over there. So what's the
Mhm.
drama?
Mhm.
And I realized that the drama, the story that I was telling myself, is that I couldn't control the narrative of the video. So somehow, if a segment of the video got out into the world and it was
Oh.
misinterpreted, that I had to correct it or some stuff, right? So what
Wow.
I realized is I wasn't in alignment with my own truth. So
Mm.
now, so for example, I've been on the phone with you like 40 minutes, right? So if someone only heard 30 seconds and they
Right.
put that out into the world, the
Uh-huh.
Kadena of today is
Mhm.
not bothered because I'm like, take that whatever way you want to take it, because
Mhm.
what you're doing is you're showing me the way you think, because that has nothing to do with me.
Mm.
But the Kadena
Yes.
of years ago, I was
Mhm.
such a control freak, follow me. I was out of alignment with my own truth. Now I know who I am. I don't have anything to prove. So, number one, it should feel like a comfortable pair of shoes, or,
Mhm.
it should feel like I am one with all that is. Like, I am one with this. Like, this is who I am. And so,
Mm.
like, when I'm having a conversation with someone, like, I have this fabulous client, which I'm gonna mention her name because she's a hot, buttery mess, but she's 75 and her name is Connie Sands, and she goes by the badass bag lady. And
Oh.
her website is hotmoneyrelationship.com. And
Ooh.
when we met, right, when we met, we just clicked. And when she said to me, I want women to know that you deserve to have a hot money relationship. And one of the most important relationships in your life is going to be your relationship with money. And the sooner that women learn that and learn how to navigate that relationship with love and joy and appreciation and care,
Mhm.
the more wealthier they will be. And I just remember thinking about that, thinking, "Ah, I should have come up with that, right? That's what I'm
Oh,
talking about,
yes.
right?"
Uh-huh.
Because it was,
Uh-huh.
but then I realized, so because I was in my gift and she's in her gift, right? We can come together and co create miracles. So
Yes.
for me, it's like, what do I see? I see people who are in their anointing or their calling or their jam. It's like
Mhm.
you, right? I believe in the community of the book. I believe in book promotion. I believe
Yes.
that you need to write down
Mhm.
the things that you care about so that that information can be shared with someone else who might need
Mhm.
encouragement, or they need to be educated on something, they need to be inspired, because you don't know when they're going to read the book, right? You have no idea. But whenever they read
Right.
it, it's going to be that moment where it's like, whoosh, like, oh my God, let me tell you
Yes.
about Elizabeth, right? So I want to see, right? I want to see myself in relationship with other people who are standing in their gift. They're not jealous and insecure about what I'm doing because they're doing their own thing, right? I want to hear
Mhm.
conversations where we can connect and we can collaborate and we can ask each other questions and we can support each other, right? I want to feel loved, valued, respected, appreciated, and cherished. And I want other people to feel that way too when they're in my presence. So I think we don't
Ooh.
realize, like, how you frame your business, you're tapping into other people's energy systems and how they feel. You don't know what people are going through. I mean,
Right.
girl, I worked at British Airways for 20 years. And there was this period where I worked at the ticket counter, and I worked at Dulles in Virginia. And I don't know if you've ever been to Dulles, but it's like this big glass window. And when I would be staying at the ticket counter and the doors would open, I could feel the energy of the people coming through the doors. I would take a deep breath, because some people are not traveling for pleasure. Some people are on their way to a funeral. Some people are trying to get there before the person passes, right? Some people are trying to get there because their loved one has been in an accident, or like they've fallen deathly ill, and the people are scared. So it's a lot of fear type of energy. And so what I would do, I would stand at the ticket counter And I literally would pretend like I was a big sun, like a big ball of light. And I would roll this light like through,
Oh.
like around myself, like a spin. And then I would spin it out all the way past the doors. So this way, when the people came to me, right, they were like, oh, how are you today? Because the other energy was like too much, right? It was just like, oh my God, I can't deal with this. So people thought I
Mhm.
was weird and I was strange, but this was the trip. When they would be in the queues, we had three 747s. And so I think the flights were like 6 p.m., 7:30 p.m., and 9 p.m., something like this. And sometimes the people for the 9 p.m. flight would show up for the 6 p.m. flight because they wanted to go early. But keep in mind, three 747s, 300 people each flight, standing in
Oh
the
my
queue,
goodness.
right? And you know how people are when they have to wait because everybody wants microwave experiences. And these people would, be showing their butts. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. There was a thing called shame when I was a child. What's going on with y'all? Right? And so people would laugh and say, I'm sorry. I was like, wait a minute. You are in public. You're not supposed to be acting like this. So I would play with these people, like get it together.
Uh-huh.
But here was the thing, by me, because I was a big ball of light, which they didn't know this, right? Because my prayer was, Mother, Father God, let them see you and not me. That's why I had to be a big ball of light. For those of you who are like, what is she talking about? That's why I was the light, because I didn't want them to see my anxiousness, my anxiety,
Mhm.
my own fear, because
Mhm.
it's a lot of energy, right? But from
Mhm.
that experience of standing there at that ticket counter and watching people step back and say, you can go, I want her. You can go. And it clogged the queue up. My
Wow.
supervisor said to me, you need to stop hamming it up. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he said, you know what I'm talking about? You're clogging up the queue because you're hamming it up because the people are like, you can go, I want her. And I was like, well, I'm confused. Aren't we supposed to be customer service oriented? I was like, what? And so, but they didn't know. Well, now they know because I'm on this video with you. But
Uh-huh.
that's what I was doing. I
I love
literally
it.
in my head
Mhm.
was like, let them see you and
Yes.
not me. And so I made so many beautiful
Mm.
connections from that job, that's what gave me the courage to
Mhm.
have my own business, because what I
Mm.
saw was when you treat people like welcome home, right? Like
Mm.
my place of business
Mhm.
is an extension of your home. You're welcome
Yes.
here.
Yes.
Thank you for coming. It's a pleasure
Mhm.
to be of service to you. They
Mhm.
will come back and they'll bring their friends. So it doesn't
Mhm.
matter the size of your business. You don't have to be like a British Airways to build that relationship with
Mhm.
people, right?
Mhm.
But that's how so to go back to the very beginning of the call, that was another piece of getting started, building those relationships. Because if you treat people right, you build a large community map. And so
Mhm.
you have, or what I'm going to call, you could call it an address book, phone book, contact book, whatever you want to call it. But you build a database of people who, when
Mhm.
they hear your name, it's like, oh, I love her. And then they're
Oh.
willing to help you. That's the thing I think people don't, it's like when people hear your name, are they like, oh God, no?
Yes.
Or are they like, oh yeah, I know her. Oh,
Uh-huh.
she's so wonderful. Da, da, da.
Yeah.
So it's not about being liked, it's about showing up authentically. So in your body, when you're authentic, then people resonate with that and they
Mhm.
connect with that. And if you genuinely like people, they can feel it. If you only
Yes.
want money from people, they can feel that too. Right.
Right.
And we don't
Right.
um I feel like we don't take the time to look at not to go into a tangent, but look at the energy of your business. So, who do you want to work with? Not just because they have money, but because their mission aligns with yours, because you two together are co creating something fabulous, right? When you look at where you're going to find these people, are you like, for example, are you on a social media channel because somebody told you to be on that social media channel, or
Mhm.
because that channel really resonates with you? Like
Right.
I love Instagram, and
Mhm.
all kind of people inbox me on Instagram. And when other people say to me, do you get a lot of spam? I'm like, no. The people that inbox me are like, just like the most fabulous people. And so I
Uh-huh.
feel like I'm blessed in that way, but I don't think it's by accident. I think it's like what you put out, there's an energy there. And then when you go somewhere and speak, there's an energy. And then people either resonate with it or they don't. And the
Mhm.
people who don't, I mean, you know, people inbox me and say, you know, I saw you speak at such and such a conference. And when you said that, everybody needs to make a minimum of $2 million, I totally disagreed. And, you know, I just type back, you know, thank you so much for sharing. You don't have to agree with everything I think, right? But here's the
That is
thing,
so funny.
I mean, nobody's asking you to be in agreement. LOL.
Uh-huh.
Like, pull
Oh.
yourself together. And I put it in video. So then
Mhm.
they know I'm not being a smart ass because I'm like, I know you don't not trying to live your life worried about what I'm
Mhm.
thinking about what you're thinking.
Mhm.
Just trust
Mhm.
me, I'm not. And I
Mhm.
just laugh about it. So I think people know, but you know, sometimes maybe we don't realize that when you decide I am enough,
Yes.
exactly as I am, flaws
Mhm.
and all, whatever those flaws may be, that's when you're really free in your body,
Mhm.
right? To put your
Mhm.
greatest work out into the world.
Yes,
Does
yes, I
that
love.
answer your question?
Oh, it's so beautiful. And the idea of exuding this ball of light. I mean,
Yeah.
as a person who teaches meditation, the solar plexus chakra, the navel chakra, is a yellow ball of light at our core. And we all are transmission towers of energy, and we all have the power to have a positive impact on the world simply by transmitting that energy like the golden ball of light. So I hope everybody watching will practice that exercise. I know I'm going to do it. I already do that. And I think
Yeah.
that's why I bring light and love to people,
Yes.
especially if they're stressed, complete strangers, the cashier, the
Yes.
person at the reception desk,
Yes.
wherever I am. And it's you get a helper's high when you do that, when you make somebody
Yes.
smile. It's
Yes.
awesome.
It is. Oh my gosh. Because
Hmm.
that's when you're connecting with another person's humanity. And I think that's the purpose of our business, right? It's like what I tell people, I think I told you this privately because this is something that always surprises clients because you know they'll be talking to me, oh my God, you're so smart, you're so this and that. And I'm like, hold up. Honey, I'm not your guru. Let's be clear. I am a guide on this journey. But
Guide.
here's the thing that I do want you to know as a guide, my purpose is to hold up a mirror. So I'm behind the mirror. You can't see me. I hold up the mirror so that you can see you. Because a lot of
Mm.
times you have to look within and see your own worthiness and your own deservability. And that's the reason why I'm here. So the things that I'm packaging for people, this is what blows my mind when people who've never met me say they were referred to me and they'll say, I want you to do for me what you did for Elizabeth. And I'm like, I can't do that.
Why?
See, because at the end of the day, it's not about them being you. It's about what is spirit calling to them. Elizabeth might be called to build, right, a media empire. You might be called to travel around the world, right, and speak at corporations, right, or to be at the United Nations. I'm not here to make mini me's. Like that's not what we do. And so I don't believe in that comparison and then we follow what other people are doing. Your business model is as unique as you are, you know, and I think that's the other thing that people, and that's a whole nother podcast. But I think that one of the biggest problems that people have is they think the answers are outside of themselves and they think it's like, well, I want to do what she's doing. That might be a little bit of the guide to show you maybe kind of sort of right the way, like Oprah for example. Like for years my nickname was Little Baby Oprah, and I would always say to people, I'm a better Kadena than I am at being
Wow.
Oprah. Oprah is Oprah, and here's the beautiful thing about Oprah, she's doing it just fine as herself.
Mhm.
I don't need to use my life force trying to be a miniature version of her, right? I can look at the road that she's paved, right, by having a media company and say, oh, okay, if I want to have a magazine, a TV show, you know, etc., I can do those things. But to copy what she's doing, that's a waste of my life force because I've been
Right.
called to do something different. Now, that
Mhm.
doesn't mean that I can't have a TV show or I can't have a magazine, but I am saying I don't want to do it like her. It needs to be it goes back to the body, right? What's the call on my life 25
Mhm.
years from today? Do I want people to say, It's like I know this is the perfect example. I'm going to use the versus battles. People say, oh, I wish Michael Jackson and Prince were alive because then we could be Michael Jackson versus Prince. And I'm like, what are y'all talking about? Those are like those are apples and oranges, right? Or it's like, who's going to be with, like, my favorite group is Frankie Beverly and Maze. And people are like, who would be, well, there is no verses. That's
What do
it.
you mean by verses?
You know that VERZUZ, you know how they have the musical things, like the other night it was the OJs
Oh,
versus Earth, Wind and Fire. It's
uh-huh.
like we love to compare and contrast and have everybody in competition.
That is
That's
so
like,
toxic.
it's, first of all, it's just the concept of it is not in alignment spiritually. We're not here to compete with each other. We're
Hmm.
here to cooperate and connect with one another. Because when you
Hmm.
show up, however you show up, that adds value to my
Hmm.
life, right? But we
Yes.
have such a competitive energy going on
Yes.
that we think
Uh-huh.
that everybody needs to be like everybody else. That's the thing
Hmm.
that I'm saying. So when people come to me with that, I'm like, I'm not the right person for you. You need to
Hmm.
come to me with your dream.
Yes, I
You
love
know what I
it.
mean?
I love
Because
it.
I'm not about to help you do what Elizabeth is doing or what anybody else is doing for that matter.
Hmm.
Like, are you?
Hmm.
That's out of integrity. That's what I mean by in the body. I know it's like Connie. Like I just told you, she's the hot. This woman, her whole
Right.
brand is hot money relationship. Why would I say to another client who's talking to me about money, well, why don't you do hot money relationship too? No,
No, no, no, no. We're not
right?
cookie cutter. I
But
love it. I
that's the
love it.
thing but I think that that's what happens to people, and they
Hmm.
forget. Look within. You already have what you
Oh,
need.
I love it.
Stand in your own light, stand in your own
I,
gift, stand in
yeah.
your own anointing. You got this. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. And with all that, we will be fearless. We will speak up. We will stop playing small, and we will get what we desire and deserve in life, especially when it comes to money, in exchange for sharing the gifts that we were blessed with in
Yeah.
business. Thank you, Kadena. So, how can
Oh,
people get in touch
thank
with
you.
you to work with you or get your book?
Well, my book is on Amazon, or they can go to my website, kadenatate.com. And here's the biggest thing: reach out to me on social media. I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm on Clubhouse. You
Excellent.
know,
Mhm.
I this is probably going to sound arrogant, what's about to come out of my mouth, but I also want to be in my own integrity. Kadena is not for everybody. And I will, like I said, I'd rather turn you down now than let you down later. I always listen to my body. So I can have wonderful relationships with people, stretch far and wide. But when it comes to working with someone, the best person for me to work with is someone who carries, like they've had a vision that they know they've carried maybe 10, 20 years, or maybe since they were a child, and they know this is what I'm called to do. And it's so much bigger than me. I don't know how I'm going to do it. That's my person, right? The
Wow.
person who knows that they want to make an impact where they're going to impact a large body of people, and that their
Mhm.
work is going to reverberate 75, 100 years out. Or at least that's the desire in a positive way. So
Mm.
for people who have smaller visions, I'm not really a good fit for them because I'm always going to take them right too fast. Because remember, my brand is 50 Shades of Paid Media. So the whole goal is to build a media, a publishing, right, a product based empire.
Mhm.
So definitely we can always have conversations, like I said, go to my website or what have you. But definitely, if you're talking about working with me, like, come in the spirit of, this is what I'm trying, this is where I am, this is what I'm trying to do, and this thing that I'm trying to do feels like it's light years ahead, and I guarantee you it's right here right now. It's about you stepping
Wow.
into it. Does that make sense?
Oh, Kadena, that's me. That God, my goddess mission has been calling me for many decades, and it's really big to touch people's lives. And it's all about the empire. I use that word all the time. So we are truly spirit sisters.
Yes. Well, let's definitely have more
Yeah.
conversations about it, because I do feel very, very strongly that, because I've met people who'll say, oh, you don't want to work with the little people. I'm like, there's no such thing as little people. There's no such
Oh,
thing, right? Every vision is important, but I do believe that every teacher or every guide is not for every person. And I think that
Right.
we have to get clear about who we're
Mm-hmm.
called to work with, because that's why I do business model design. That's why I'm a revenue strategist, because I'm literally looking at, okay, we have a book. Now, what's the community of the book? And how are we going
Yes.
to take the message of the book? Because the book is just a container for your intellectual property, right? Or for the
Mm-hmm.
words of your heart. That's what the book
Mm-hmm.
is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, how are we going to take that and put it in multiple formats so that it can reach the largest body of people? So, if you're scared to do a video, you're going to think I'm a bully, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Right? You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like this is where we have to tell the truth about what's required of the gift, right? What is
Mm-hmm.
the, you know what, my client Beverly Beal says this to me. This is perfect. I thank you, Beverly. Beverly says that the question that people need to think about before working with me is, what does my business want from me?
Ooh.
So she said, oh my God, thank you, Beverly. This is perfect. She said, that's the question. Before you work with me, you need to ask yourself, what does my vision require of me? What does my business want to be? Because remember, a business is a spiritual vehicle that carries your destiny on its wings. So your
Wow.
destiny can't be to write one book and stop, right, and go lay down somewhere, right?
Right.
That's
Uh-huh.
destiny. That's a book. So this is where we've got to ask the bigger question: what does it require? So if you're writing the type of book that you want to a million people to hold in their hands and be transformed, and I don't mean just the renewing of their minds, I'm talking
Right.
about the transformation of their bodies and their habits.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to need ancillary tools, right? That one book won't be enough. They might need some videos. They might need a licensed facilitator program. They might need to come see you. They might want to go on a cruise with you or
Mm.
safari with you. Do you know what I'm saying? They're going to
Yeah.
need some more tools because you're building community,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so
Mm-hmm. I
there's a
love it.
spiritual connection. So that's the bigger picture.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. That is so beautifully tied together. Everything is connected and we all have so much power. So thank you, Kadena Tate-Simon, for helping us unleash it all and be the best and boss up and be the goddesses that we're meant to be in mind, body, and spirit to make a positive and powerful impact on the world and have fun while doing it.
Yes. Yes.
Well, you will have to come back so we can have that other conversation, okay?
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome,
Oh,
Kadena.
thank
You're
you.
amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. And thank you, all of you, for joining us today on Boss Up Goddess, where I interview trailblazing women like Kadena Tate-Simon, who shared her amazing wisdom today, who helped us all live bigger, better, and bolder by being fearless, speaking up, and not playing small anymore. Please do go to twosisterswriting.com to order my book, Boss Up Goddess. It's going to contain all the messages that I share on the show with our amazing guests that can help you truly get what you desire and deserve in life. Also, please do like, share, subscribe, and comment. And please follow me on Twitter at Elizabeth Atkins. And remember, Boss Up Goddess, you have the power. I'll see you next time.